And welcome back to Real Talk Sports with Rico. Today we are going to jump into a preview of the Buccaneers versus the Falcons, that game coming up on Thursday. Then also too, we're going to be talking about some of the hotter stories around the NBA. We're going to be jumping into some of the storylines around training camp as preseason gets ready to take off this Friday. So exciting times right now as the NBA season is getting ready to start. The NFL season is just really starting to heat up. And so let's jump into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Atlanta Falcons. And so we have the Buccaneers on the road against the Falcons. I think that this is going to be a very good football game, but I think it starts with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield last week against the Eagles, 347, 2 touchdowns. He had 100 QBR rating. And I just think that Baker Mayfield is really here now. And I mean that in the sense that Baker Mayfield had bounced around, and I think for now he's actually found a actual franchise that truthfully believes in him. He believes in this franchise, and I think that Tampa Bay has now really seriously made that pivot from Tom Brady, and I think that they are full speed ahead with Baker Mayfield. And I think that he is going to show the NFL and the rest of this division how good the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be this season and seasons to come, as long as he can continue to stay healthy, which it seems like that is what he's doing. He's recovered nicely from that shoulder injury that he had in Cleveland. And I think that, man, he's got a real nice offense around him with with Mike Evans, and then also to Chris Godwin. He's got 2 good running backs in Bucky Irving, and then also to Rashad White, And so both of those players have been very complimentary to Baker Mayfield. And I just think that the Bucs are going to take it to Atlanta. I think it is going to be a close football game. Atlanta's been kind of squeaking by in a couple of these games that they have won. Kirk Cousins hasn't really played exceptionally well. He's just played good enough to get Atlanta to some wins, hasn't thrown a whole bunch of touchdown passes. And I mean, he looks fine coming off the Achilles, but, I'm just not sure that they have enough on the outside to really open it up like he had when he was with the Minnesota Vikings. And so, look, defensively, these are going to be 2 tough defenses, because when we look at the defense of Atlanta, they have actually held quarterbacks to a sub 90 rating. And then with the Bucs, they have held quarterbacks to a sub 78 rating. So you're going to see some elite defensive play. I know that Atlanta doesn't necessarily get a lot of sacks, but they are there in coverage. They seem to be a team that is well connected in their zones, their cover 3s, cover 4 schemes, and they do enough in the man-to-man situation. And one thing that I do like about Atlanta is they usually force you to go into a bunch of 3rd and longs and things like that. So they make that first down marker pretty tough to get to. And so I think that that is a pretty good quality as a defense, and I think that that will take you far. And I think that both of these teams are going to compete very hard, and it's going to come down to Baker Mayfield. Can he continue to do what he's doing? Then also, too, can he continue to get this running back play from Rashad White and then Bucky Irvin? Both of those players came in a little banged up last week. I think Rashad White had a little bit of an illness coming into that one, and then Bucky Irvin has had a little bit of a hamstring. But it looks like he could perhaps be ascending to the starting lineup, because he's ran with a lot of pop, a lot of power, and that is what the Bucs have needed. They have not had a real legit running back since Leonard Fournette. And so I talked about how they've had the pivot from Tom Brady, and I think now that they're on the cusp of maybe getting the pivot where they need in the running back room. And so that would definitely unlock the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so I like them to win this football game 28-17. I think it is going to be an entertaining game, and it could come down to the wire. So it wouldn't shock me if it is a 28-24 game, but I initially think that the Bucs are going to be able to defensively lock up Atlanta, and I think it's going to be a 28-17 game. I think both of these teams are going to be pretty tight throughout the year. And so, with that being said, let's shift focus, and now let's look at the NBA and talk about some of the top stories over there. Been very exciting with training camp. You have trades that took place. We talked about that last week with the Knicks making a huge blockbuster trade before camp. Then also, too, you got players that are coming back from injury as well. And so let's start off with players that are coming back from injuries. And let's start with the Chicago Bulls. And let's start with Lonzo Ball and his situation. He's been out for the last couple seasons due to a knee injury. In fact, got a chance to watch his media day covering the Chicago Bulls. And he essentially said that he has a brand new knee, but he is looking to play not just this year, but multiple years. I have said on a couple different networks that I feel like Lonzo Ball is trending towards being like a Sean Livingston type of player. And Sean Livingston was a player that had a knee injury with the Clippers, went on to play with the Golden State Warriors, won some titles, was very effective coming off the bench as a defender and also to a mid-range scorer. And Lonzo Ball talks about the fact that athletically, yes, he probably has slowed down, but he feels like he is going to be still an impact player in this league. And the Chicago Bulls have said that they are going to go ahead and make sure that they manage him correctly. And there is a year left on his contract. I've said it before. Maybe there is the potential that Lonzo Ball is traded this season and he continues on with his career somewhere else in a winning situation. I'm rooting for Lonzo Ball. Got a chance to watch him in his rookie year when he first came into the league via the summer league and then onward to the Lakers. And so definitely great player, high IQ on the defensive end, offensive end. He's coming a long way, but I think that is a real feel-good story, I think, that has come out of training camp. And so next up, staying with the Chicago Bulls, I think it is interesting that Josh Giddey, right? He got injured at the end of the Olympics, and he came out and he said that he essentially ruptured a tendon in his ankle. And it's a stabilizing tendon that keeps your foot going forward there. And so, he's saying that he is close to getting back on the court. Looked at him doing some non-contact stuff, and he looks like he's fine and everything like that. But it was an injury that nobody knew about going into camp. The Chicago Bulls are heavily invested into Josh Giddey and really this up-tempo style. And I just talked about Lonzo Ball. He's probably not going to be there for the long term. Josh Giddey, they traded him traded for him, and traded off Alex Caruso, their best defender, to get him over there. You'd have to think that they are going to go to the negotiation table. In fact, that is what their front office said during the media day, that they are looking to get into a long-term contract with Josh Giddey, which suggests that they think he's going to be the future. Not a terrific start to know that he's coming off a ruptured tendon, but it looks fine for him. So next up, the Grizzlies coming out of their camp. It looks like Jaren Jackson Jr. has had a little bit of a hamstring injury first day of camp there. Obviously, you have some weeks before the season, but those soft tissue injuries can linger. So that is something to take a look at, going into camp here. The Lakers, I talked about this before. They have a lot of pressure going into this year, clearly with Bronny and then also to LeBron James. I think that there's going to be a huge spotlight on that. And then they also have the new coach in JJ Redick. I think he was actually, I think it was on ESPN or whatever, talking about the fact that they are trying to really just establish this identity and just kind of shift things towards getting back to winning. I think that is going to be interesting, how they are going to utilize the younger players along with these players that I think are in more of a win now situation. When you look at Anthony Davis, you look at LeBron James and things like that. So I think that's going to be interesting. With the Golden State Warriors, what they're saying out of camp is they're trying to figure out, just what type of direction they're going to go in. Obviously, they want to maximize what Steph Curry has left, Draymond Green over there as well. And Draymond has come out in his podcast and said that they have had to stop the front office from making deals that would maybe immediately impact the Golden State Warriors for the right now, but it would not be good for the long-term future. And so you have to ask yourself, are they still possibly considering making a deal for a Brandon Ingram? There was talk that they might want to look at a player like Zach LaVine, who, really shut that down in a media day where he talked about he was happy to be a Chicago Bulls. Looks like he's locked into being a Bull. So, I'm not sure if the trade there is going to happen, but Golden State might be wanting to listen to a deal, especially if they're trying to maximize Steph Curry and that window that he has left. John Morant back in with the Memphis Grizzlies said he's happy, he's healthy, he's excited for the season. And then with the Clippers, I talked about them having some of the bigger pressure this year. Kawhi says that he wants to make sure that he stays healthy for important moments. I'm understanding that they are going to slowly ramp him up as he has got some inflammation in the knee. That is still concerning because, well, that season he missed the back half of the postseason. The Clippers were not the same. They're going into a new arena, and they're going to depend a lot on Kawhi if they're going to make any noise in the Western Conference. I have them at the bottom of the West right now, but we'll see what happens with them. But I think that is an important storyline. Then also, too, we got Luka. He's saying that he is very excited to play with Klay Thompson. I think that it's going to be interesting to have that dynamic with Kyrie Irving, Luka, and just can the Mavs now, I don't think that they're going to be able to surprise teams now. I think the teams are going to be looking for them in the West. I don't think that there's going to be any nights off. And you wonder, are they going to be able to keep the same pace that they had last year? They were able to get some really good interior presence on that team. When you go back and look at the year when they won the title, they had some good interior play with Tyson Chandler being able to block some shots and things like that. And they need that same type of energy if they're going to get over the hump against a team like the Celtics or whoever comes out of the East. Also, too, just out of the Sixers camp, we're talking about Joel Embiid, and it looks like he has, lost some weight. So he's looking to possibly stay a little bit more healthy as they get ready to get into the postseason. But anyway, those are just some of the storylines of the NBA as we get ready to head into preseason basketball come Friday. I think the Lakers play, the Timberwolves play. They just made that deal. Pretty exciting stuff as we get ready to move on into the NBA season. Let me know what you're thinking. You can find us on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify. And as usual, this is Rico. This is Real Talk Sports. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace. Peace.